Good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapita CBD. Now, government has promised to rebuild the Kantamanto market following Tuesday's fire, which destroyed businesses and property. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said at least 2,592 individuals have directly been affected, a situation he says requires urgent attention. Addressing the media after assessing the level of devastation, the Vice President also announced that the administration will immediately compensate those that have suffered the tragedy. There's more in this report.
The team is here to see firsthand the level of devastation. Many businesses we know have been brought to a halt. Some have been devastated completely. And so, as acting president, he is here to get a proper appreciation of the impact of the outbreak and say a few words. You just observed the level of devastation the fire has caused to businesses here at Kantamanto. Would you tell us what you make of this level of devastation to start with?
I have seen the damage, and so many shops, so many stores have been razed to the ground. As you can see, what we have is a human tragedy. You have about 2,592 people who have been directly affected by this. There's going to be an investigation as to what has happened and why it has happened, and that investigation will proceed as is. But nonetheless, the lives and the livelihoods of the people cannot really await an investigation. Those are more immediate, and so we are going to be looking at how to provide assistance. NADMO, for example, is here, and the Deputy Director Generals are here, and we're going to be looking at how to assist. I'm calling a meeting on Friday at my office with the leadership and to look at how we rebuild this market.
Member of Parliament-elect for Fomena, Andrew Amwaka-Siama, says he will join the new Patriotic Party side of the House in the next Parliament following the advice of the chiefs and people of Fomena. Mr. Amwaka-Siama says though the decision to expel him from the current Parliament was unfair, he still stands by the MPP as a party.
Because I took these steps not for my humble self, I took it in a way for the good of the party. At least you have to make sure things are done openly, transparently, so that if somebody is within the party and things do not even work out the way he's expecting, he will take it in good faith. I believe, and what I've heard, I think the party going forward will learn from it. So I think nothing happens by chance. Probably it's good that it happened that way. No demands as I speak with you. What is important is that it is my family, and I'm going back to that family. Whatever is needful, the family will see to it. I hope so. But for now, there's no demands.
6 presidential candidates in the 2020 elections are calling on presidential candidates of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, to either accept the results of the polls or go to court to settle all outstanding issues he has with the Electoral Commission. At a news conference on Wednesday, Hassan Ayerga of the All People's Congress, David Apasera of the People's National Convention, Ivor Greenstreet of the Convention People's Party, Henry Herbert Latte of the Great Consolidated Popular Party, Kofi Akpalu of the Liberal Party of Ghana, and independent candidate Kwame Asiedi Walker called for peace. There's more in this report.
Some members of the National Democratic Congress have been protesting the 2020 election results, describing EC's result declaration as flawed. This comes after NDC flag bearer John Mahama indicated that he will not accept the results. 6 presidential candidates of the 2020 polls, Hassan Ayerga of the APC, David Apasera of the PNC, Ivor Greenstreet of the CPP, Henry Herbert Latte of the GCPP, Kofi Akpalu of the LPG, and Jacob Oseyeboa, who was running mate of independent candidate Alfred Walker, entreated the NDC to seek legal redress rather than resorting to protests.
It was appropriate that as leaders we should come together and add our voice to the request for peace in Ghana, to a request for the reduction in tensions in our country.
And we want Ghana to be free and fair, but peaceful. So we are making a call to all political party leaders, all past presidential candidates, that all the rank and file and supporters of our parties, and all Ghanaians, that we should exercise restraint, exercise caution, and know that it is upon all of us, it behoves on every Ghanaian to work for peace, and that we need peace in Ghana.
We have political independence. What we need is economic independence, and let's do that to make Ghana great and strong.
We are also calling on the presidential candidate and former President John Mahama. For the fact that he has not accepted this is also democratic, but we implore on him and his followers to take democratic processes. Yes, protest is a form of democratic process, but it's indeterminate in the sense that you may not know what may happen during demonstration. Courts, however, is the final place of arbiter where collated figures can actually be changed if there are facts to support that.
I would ask if anybody has an issue with the election, the best place is to go to court and seek redress, because that's the only solution that we have, go based on the CI that we have. But going on the street, destroying properties will not solve the problem. The best thing to do is to go to court, and when you go to court, we all learn from it.
I hear people say, no justice, no peace. But I want you to know, no peace, no justice. It is the other way around. So, we should all be encouraging a peaceful country, a peaceful atmosphere. Let's all disagree with the verdict of EC, and let's accept it. It will take us far, and we will have a very peaceful country.
Hassan Ayariga also called for investigations into the alleged abuse of civilians by military personnel during the elections.
I also have a appeal that I saw something that I am not happy about. The military brutality and the police brutality in the election 2020. The police and the military are supposed to maintain, protect lives and properties. But in one of the constituencies, I think that was in Techima, the action by the military and the police is something we cannot write good about. And if these people are really policemen and military men, then they should be subjected to investigation and proper conduct. Because I know military men, one thing I know about military men is that discipline is their key. And no military man will put a weapon before their own citizens and be shooting. And no policeman will equally do that. So I will call on government to investigate this particular matter, so that it will be a good thing for all of us.
The presidential candidates also urged Ghanaians to be peaceful. Nicholas Yamua's report for JoyNews.
Now, Parliament has suspended processes to approve the Public Universities Bill 2020 after a meeting between Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and various education sector stakeholders on Wednesday. Chairman of Parliament's Education Committee, William Kwartu, says copies of the new bill laid in Parliament in November were made available to the stakeholders at the meeting for them to study. He says the new bill addresses about 90% of the concerns raised.
Well, we have met them. To me, a more powerful source have made them. That is beyond this committee. That is why we're saying that they should take it, go and consider it and bring in their new groups.
Is consideration going to be suspension? Are you going to suspend the constitution state until you finalize the
Yes, consideration at the plenary is suspended. That is on hold until we receive their inputs on a new bill.
What stopped you from consulting them before you see new bill? That's where they say they are disappointed in the executive and, for that matter, the committee.
Well, I would say that printing of the new bill, delayed. That's what I would say. And so yesterday was just delaying. And after that, we knew we were going to get the new bill and to be given to them, because that was a promise from me to them. And I knew I was going to do it before that time. But you see, all the input that they made when we met them here, those of you who were around, we used 1 week from Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to about 8 p.m. every day to meet them. There were about 26 stakeholders. And they were all making the same input on various provisions. And everything has been considered. Of course, in consultation with the Ministry and GTEC, Ghana Tertiary Education Commission. A lot of work has gone into all this.
Meanwhile, NDC MPA on Parliament's Education Committee, Bernard Ahafo, says the bill still contains a lot of legal stuff that should not be allowed to stand.
Public universities bills was first introduced, there were a lot of concerns from the stakeholders. We had a stakeholders engagement leading to a lot of changes to the bill. But as a matter of fact, it would have been proper that after those concerns were integrated into the bill, there should be another stakeholders engagement to inform them that whatever concerns that they have raised have actually been integrated into the bill. And if they have any other concerns, then they will bring it to the table for a discussion. But that has not been done. So yesterday at the second reading, I raised pertinent issues. These issues are in three main folds. The first one is that by clause 1 of the bill, and then by the memorandum, page 2, clause 4, we are saying that we are establishing the public university as a body corporate. And we all know the characteristics of a body corporate. One of the characteristics of a body corporate is that once it is incorporated, or once it is established as a body corporate, it becomes a juristic person capable of doing what a human being can really do. And as I indicated, one of the characteristics is to be able to enter into a contract because it has a legal status, unimpeded contract. However, if you look at section 46 or clause 46 of the bill currently, that body corporate that we are creating cannot enter into a contract unless it has an approval of the minister responsible for education. And the question therefore is that how can we be creating a body corporate and projecting public university to the whole world as a public as a body corporate, yet when that body corporate wants to enter into a contract, it cannot unless it has an approval of the minister responsible.
Now, the coronavirus pandemic has had an unforeseen impact on lives across the globe. As the world prepares for a post-COVID-19 era, discussions are already underway to understand the extent of impact to support government to fashion out policies that would cushion the citizens going forward. St. Ghana has been holding a series of such engagements across the country. Justice Bedu was in one of them and has filed this report.
There hasn't been any intervention for the youth or any intervention for adolescents, and it's very alarming because
a young woman telling her story, a story of how a monstrous pandemic rocked her life and that of many people like her.
We've recorded increase in teenage pregnancy, increase in school dropouts. We've recorded increase in educational barriers where most of our young girls and our young guys have stopped going to school because of economic hardships, we've realized that those in the rural areas are being left behind.
Maybe a civil society organization or an NGO.
Lovia Tete runs a civil society organization in Accra and has seen and heard from many young men and women she works with every day about the toll COVID-19 has brought to them. This meeting has been called by Right Campaign Group Send Ghana, giving a platform to people from all walks of life to come share their COVID-19 impact stories. Some of the people gathered here are representing the country's most vulnerable, like the severely ill and the aged.
During the COVID, there was no support from family and also philanthropy, simply because during COVID time, a lot of works have been shut down, and also family that have been helping people with disability, they find it very difficult also to get money from their workplaces. So it's very difficult for we persons living with disability to get support in terms of our daily activities.
They are those targeted by some of the country's social intervention programs like the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program and the National Health Insurance Scheme. And as lockdowns and shutdown of businesses held back operations of some of these agencies that run these programs, they too felt the pinch.
Our social service department to really help us in a lot of ways, but for a lot of assessment that some of us or research that some of us have done so far, we foresee that there was no support from any of the social welfare department, simply because some of items that were even brought to be given to persons with disability, it's very difficult for we to assess it, and a few that were able to assess itself, by the time the items got to them, in terms of cooking items, some of the food is already getting to spoil before the food will get to them.
We are very much interested in people who are receiving existing social protection interventions, those who have the potential to receive it, and those who are managing it, to get a sense of how things have been since we had the pandemic here. In other words, how do we know that existing social protection programs are responding to the needs of its beneficiaries given the context of COVID-19?
This is only one of several engagements that are underway to better understand what this virus is leaving in its wake and to better support government as the world prepares for life beyond COVID-19. Justice Bedu, JoyNews.
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapita Sibiri, but the AM show continues, so stick and stay.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for the news review segment on the show. It's a brilliant Thursday morning. Thank you for joining us. I have this morning the Ghanaian Times, the Business Finder, the Chronicle newspaper, the Daily Searchlight, and the New Crusading Guide. And of course, the two musketeers. I always do it together with Mamavi Usu.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was just deep into one of the stories in
you got lost in
the Daily Heritage. I was just catching up on the #1 case, but I'll keep our viewers updated. So hello there, if you're just joining us. This is a review segment of our show. I've got the Daily Graphic, Daily Guide, Daily Heritage, and the Daily Statesman. All daily. So you start?
Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and on the front page, of course, talk about that fire that gutted the Kantamanto market, leaving some 2,592 traders with their livelihoods destroyed. 2020 presidential results gazetted. WAEC releases provisional BECE results, and go to Supreme Court, IDEG and the CFI advise. So those are some of the stories there. I just wanted to highlight this one, though, on page 3. That says, man stabs brother to death over election results. You heard me right. And a man is supposed to have stabbed his brother to death following a misunderstanding between them over the results of the 2020 general elections at Swami in Kumasi. Identified only as Amido, the suspect was said to have stabbed to death his biological brother, Izzuddin Awal, 30, after an argument ensued over the election results on Monday at about 11 p.m. How bad can it get? Election results? I know it's tearing families apart because I know families that have, supporters or that support both ends. But to the point of murder? Anyway, that's it with the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
All right, let's do the Daily Heritage next on the front page. NDC not against media, says its election director Friye Ankara. Also, Supreme Court throws out Trasacco over case against Topkins Limited. PEC to regulate private education in Ghana. Government backtracks on Public University Bill 2020. Mount Crest launches scholarship fund to promote equality and inclusion in legal education. That's how it looked like. But in the center spread, quite a number of court cases, all high profile. So just an update on that. And I'll start with the case involving NAM1. The Circuit Court in Accra, presided over by Her Honor Evelyn Asamoah, has adjourned the case in which Chief Executive Officer of Men's Gold Ghana Limited, Nana Appiah Mensah, has been arraigned for defrauding to January 2021. At the last court date, the presiding judge was on leave and the case was adjourned to December 16. So yesterday in court, the case was called. The judge was present. Prosecution led by Assistant Superintendent Police Sylvester Asari said investigations were ongoing and a lot was being done regarding the case, so he wanted to take a date. Defense did not raise any objection as the court adjourned the case. So NAM1 was in court, and the paper is suggesting that this may be the last time he would be in court in 2020. He was initially charged with abetments of crime, defrauding by false pretenses, carrying on a deposit-taking business without license, sale of minerals without license, unlawful deposit taken, and money laundering. It is alleged that the accused had taken various sums of money totaling 1.6 billion Ghana cedis from customers. So that's the update on this case. Let's do the Mfantsiman NP. And it says prosecution in the case in which 8 accused persons who have been arraigned in the robbery incident that led to the death of the Mfantsiman Member of Parliament, Kwanzaa Hayford, has submitted their evidence for forensic analysis. The accused persons have all been charged with conspiracy to robbery, but have denied any wrongdoing. So more of what went down in courts on Wednesday. And then here's another one. The High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice Lydia Osei Mafo, has ordered the Regional Legal Aid Director to act on the court's order by assigning a lawyer to defend Daniel Esiedu and Vincent Bosu, who are standing trial for murder and conspiracy to commit robbery. Now, this is the J.B. Dankwa Edu case, and that's the update for you. So the two have been held. The charge is murder of the former Ebuakwa North Member of Parliament. At the last adjourned date, the court had tasked the registrar of the court to inform the Regional Aid Director to appoint a lawyer or a lawyer aide from their outfit or from outside to represent the accused persons. If you've been following the case closely, then you would know that his earlier lawyer, and as the paper has put it, I think that day, had abandoned him. Okay, so 3 high-profile court cases, and that's the update there for you, picked from the Daily Heritage newspaper.
Let's quickly move on to the Business Finder. It says banks' assets, profits triple between 2016 and 2020. Then Veep Tours Kantamanto fire scene, hints of new market. Of course, that new market supposedly would, be made of more durable, fireproof material, at least something that would not be so combustible or go so easily up in flames like we saw with the materials used for the Kantamanto market. Then speed up work on Ofankon Sawam Road, that's according to the minister. But 2 main stories I'd like to highlight from here. The first one on page 7, actually, e-waste Mesti touching lives of thousands. And in Ghana, we have that unenviable, ignominious position. When you think about Agbogbloshy, for example, one of the things that come to mind, e-waste. It's one of the most polluted places on planet Earth. And with what is happening here, supposedly the lives of over 6,500 scrap dealers and their dependents have been impacted by the electronic waste recycling project being administered by the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation and its partners. Now, in summary, Secretary of the Greater Accra Scrap Dealers Association, Mr. Mohammed Ali, said in the last few years, the association had been working with Mesti and the German government to discourage the burning of electrical cables and other electronic waste. The burning of the hazardous waste, Mohammed maintained, was injurious to the environment and to inhabitants of the Agbogbloshy township and its environs in Accra. Now, if you picture this situation, you'd also realize that, I mean, this would impact a lot of young people's lives. And yesterday, as I was in Kantamanto, the sewing section, knitting section that went up in flames, there was a gentleman prevented in a way from taking very good videos of him, but he was one of those scavengers, scrap dealers, in the thick of things, trying to scavenge from the industrial sewing machines that had gone up in flames, been destroyed, and in the process, because the fires had not all been, brought under control, he actually got burnt. He had to be rushed to hospital. So this is the reality. And there were so many of them there. If I'm not mistaken, I could have counted 50 to 100 of them there. So this is the reality for some of our young people. And of course, this will go a long way to aid them. When you go to page 13 this morning, AngloGold trains 40 journalists to report effectively on mining. I'm only taking this story because looking across the board, it would appear that in our media space, especially in the print media, we seem to have very little specialization. So some 40 journalists and information service center operators in the Ashanti region have benefited from a 3-day training on reporting on mining and related issues organized by AngloGold Ashanti, Ghana, or Boise Mines. The workshop facilitated by LD Consult was under the theme Covering Mining Amidst COVID-19 and Political Campaigning. So those are my picks from the Business Finder newspaper.
Let's do the Daily Graphic. Front page, use judicial means to address electoral grievances. 6 presidential candidates tell Mahama. And this was in our AM News. You'd see the candidates on the front page. Ivor Kobna Greenstreet, representing the CPP. There's also Kofi Akpalu, Dr. Henry Latte, Hassan Ayariga, David Apasera, and Jacob Osei Yeboah. And then there's running mates of an independent presidential candidate. That's Jacob Osei Yeboah. Also, Akufo-Addo gazetted president-elect, and I saw the dates for the declaration, for the gazetting yesterday, and I was like, oh, so whilst everybody else was talking, this had been gazetted like 10th of 7 days, a week ago, really. Also, BEC results out. I'll be sharing some details with you.
Before you go, education and the BEC results, without the gazetting, you can't pursue any court process. When it's officially gazetted, then you can pursue the matter in court with certain processes, else the courts might not even take a look at you. So I guess that opens the door as well, like IDEG is saying to the NDC and the rest. If you want to pursue the matter in court, then that is the place to go.
Well, plenary consideration of public university bill suspended. Pay attention to food products. FDA warns consumers ahead of Christmas. So the bit about the BEC results, all is not well, really, because if you look at the statistics, we got a higher number compared to 2019, but there are also results that have not been released yet. There are those that will not be released because of some malpractices. So out of the total number of candidates who initially registered for the examination, 1.59% did not turn up. The total figure of 531,707 candidates. Okay, so the percentage is 2.78%, and out of that, we're told that 1.59 did not turn up. So it's higher than 2019. And fast forward to some of the cancelled results. So 44 candidates, they've had their result cancelled. 44 of the candidates who sat for the basic education certificate examination. Additionally, WAEC has also cancelled the subject result of 417 candidates. So 44 results cancelled, subject results of 417 candidates, and that's for bringing foreign materials into the examination hall and engaging in collusion. And this was contained in the statement released by WAEC. There's also another thing in that statement that I want to share. WAEC had withheld the subject result of 997 candidates pending the conclusion of investigations into various cases of alleged examination malpractices. What it means is that they might release based on the outcome of the investigations, or it would be withheld. So that's a bit of the update. Yeah. Okay, there's more to that. You can read about it. I think there was also another story, but let's do the back page of the paper. Government will support Kantamanto Market fire victims. That's according to the Vice President who was there yesterday. We're told some 2,500 persons have been affected. Those are livelihoods, by the way. And then Ofankor and Sawam Road being repaired in time for Christmas, says the Roads Minister, who did an inspection tour. Listen, it is so frustrating when they decide to do those repairs at a time like during rush hours. You can stay in the traffic sometimes for like 2 hours and you're almost home. You are almost home, but you're not getting there because of, this is not the major one. This almost, is not the Pokwase interchange. This is not the interchange. It has nothing to do with the interchange. We appreciate it. There's another leg of the project, which is way ahead of Pokwase, but the time that the contractor decides to do the works is very disturbing. And I wonder if this can be done before Christmas. The traffic is too heavy when you're going home and you're almost home. Maybe I should look for him. We'll have a conversation. Yeah.
You got to get personal, huh? Are you done with that paper?
I think so. I'll try and find some more stories and share. Maybe, no, just hang in there. There was a story in the center spread of the paper that I thought I would share, of the Daily Graphic. Okay, so there's a piece. Please find time and read. It's by Cameron Duodu, and it says, "Oh, easy, but why?" And there's a bit about it. I absolutely love it, where the writer says, in a charged atmosphere like this, the last thing one would have expected would have been the EC chair would make the slightest mistake in her declaration of the result. It isn't the fact that the mistake did not affect the overall results that matters. What is important is that the EC ought to have been so thorough that no possible mistake could have occurred anywhere in the EC's declaration. For we do live in an age in which fact-checking has become doubly essential in everything. And he goes on to cite the US case where somebody won an election and became president through a certain system, but 4 years on, he says lying, about the same system that got him there.
It's very interesting, that very point, because when, the transition then in 2016, when Donald John Trump became president, the words he had to say at his inauguration about how warm the Obamas had been to him and how they had facilitated the process. Interestingly, you look at the process 4 years down the line, and Biden has been, stifled when it comes to information flow, so many things that you look at the disparities in the transitions and ask yourself, what happened to that experience? Why don't you give that same experience to the next person?
Wait till you're on the losing side, you know how it feels like.
It's about being a sore loser. And unless you don't understand, in life you can't win it all.
Yeah.
You win some, you lose some.
Absolutely.
There are days when you have good days, other days you have bad days.
Power is sweet, eh? You know the kind of power and authority that comes with being president?
I think we all, and it's a human thing, like has been said, that aphorism, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. You just need to watch yourself and not get too swollen-headed.
Oh, just one final thing in the graphic, the FDA talking about food safety, especially around this time. Here's what I will add. be careful with the promotional items. You know, when they say buy one, get one free, or sometimes it's the price is, say, 50 cedis for one, but around this period, you find that they're doing 3 for 50. Be careful. Check the expiry. Check the expiry. All right, Ben?
But that's also not to say that any item you see out there...
Oh, I said be careful. Check. Those are keywords.
Don't think that way. But of course, very valid concerns. Be on the lookout for expiry dates. The Chronicle newspaper, Tema MCE escapes attack from NPP supporters over loss of seat. And this is an interesting one. Inward attacks, and you didn't live up to expectation. I've read and seen quite a number of these. I think, though, that while you explore those avenues, you ought to let the systems work. Like I said, you can't win it all. Don't run away from Supreme Court. IDEG and others tell NDC Parliament not in a rush to pass public varsity bill. Oh, Zah. Okay. All right. But this one got my interest. Not very positive story. It's on page 9. And there are pictures of an alleged situation where a jealous man acid-bathed his ex-lover and mother. And I am just wondering what propels people, pushes people, acid on another human being. I mean, what would, jealousy? I really don't know, but you must have a very callous, I don't know who did this, the suspect is here, one Nanaya Mante, but I feel anyone who does something this animalistic, inhuman, it's so sad. You should see pictures here. I wish I could let you see, but maybe just, you should grab a copy actually of the Chronicle newspaper, but very, very sad, really sad. I don't know how you can capture that, but very sad. Look at that. And can you imagine the agony she would be going through? I mean, just picture it when even you get burnt by a candle. And look at the images here. So that's, and I feel when the suspect is indeed apprehended, and if proven culpable, he should really face the full rigors of the law.
So that's daughter and mother?
Yep.
Is that it? All right, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. Front page of the Daily Guide. EC Gazette, Akufo-Addo President, Kantamanto Market gutted. Bawumia visits scene. Nam1 case still under investigation. Fomina MP declares for NPP. Greater Accra Ashanti parliamentary results in the papers today. So that's how it looks like. Front page. On the back page, we will fight for the cup, says who's Ghana's black satellite coach. Abdul Karim Zito, he stated that his team has come too close to clinching the Wafu B Cup of Nations in Benin. More sports stories, but we've got sports right after the review. So I'll leave that for Oriko Ampofo to fill you in.
The new Crusading Guide, so stories that we've already taken a look at, but Gifty Frimpong ordained as youngest pastor in Assemblies of God. That's an interesting one. But I decided to focus on the international front, and Mackenzie Scott, ex-wife of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, has donated more than $4 billion, that is £3 billion, to food banks and emergency relief funds in 4 months. Now, in a blog post, Ms. Scott said she wanted to help Americans who are struggling because of the pandemic. By the way, she divorced, the Amazon founder, the richest man in the world, not too long ago. She's the 18th richest person. And this year, she's seen her wealth climb $23.6 billion. But guess what? She's spending lots of those billions helping other people. Maybe an example for the moneyed people in Ghana, especially as Christmas approaches. Freely you've been given, freely give. That's what the Bible says. That's it for me with the new Crusading Guide. All
right, the Daily Statesman will be the last paper that I will take a look at. On the front page, banner headline, I warn Fomina for my party. Amwakwesi Ama confirms intention to sit with MPP in Parliament. See, the man says his blood, his everything, his DNA is MPP. And he said he was winning for them, so he is sitting with them in Parliament. Mark Mado, the campaign manager of the NPP going into the 2020 election, says that they are ready to face NDC in court to defend Akufo-Addo's win in the just ended exercise. That story is in the paper today. Cantamanto fire affects over 2,500 traders. Vice President, this closes. If you go to page 3, transition team receives handover notes from 54 state institutions. They've submitted their handover note to the government transition team to help in the discharge of their duties. They include 40 ministries and department agencies and 14 regional coordinating councils. The Office of Administrative General will in turn forward copies of the report to Parliament, Chief Justice, Council of State and Public Record and Archives Administration Department according to law. The rest of it, you can check it out and read on.
The Daily Searchlight is my final newspaper, and I'll skip all the headlines because the other ones we know already, apart from ICOM's blocking leakages and increasing revenue according to the GRA. But when you turn to page 9, 43,000 NPP supporters did not come to vote at Medina elections. That's according to a report. Now, just ask a question. Does it mean the electorate in Ghana is becoming more politically savvy? What does that really mean? We know the dynamics in Adenta and Medina. Yawabena Samuel losing out, Boniface Sadiq also losing out, the likes of Ramadan and lawyer Francis Xavier Sosu taking over. But I guess we all can read between the lines on these ones to find out what exactly is happening in the Eastern region, examples in the Volta region, in the Ashanti region. I guess we're making strides as a country. Well, that's it for me for my papers.
All right, we're getting ready to do myjoyonline.com for you. But one of our colleagues, a lady who would sometimes make me up, Eugenia Baden, it's her birthday today.
She
She's
makes
a
all of
makeup
us up.
artist.
She makes all of us up.
I'm being selfish here. It's Eugenia's birthday today. We want to take just a minute and celebrate her. She's a great woman and a great mother. Eugenia, happy, happy, happy birthday to you. May you live long, blessings, and surprise us with some lunch. That's Eugenia right there. It's her birthday today. If you know her, kindly give her a call and wish her a happy birthday. One of our makeup artists, Eugenia Baden, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Eugenia. But did he just say she should surprise us with lunch, or are we surprising her?
No. She should surprise us with lunch. That's what I said.
You're playing the typical Ghanaian where you are celebrating and people are asking you.
Charlie, I'm bread.
Anyway, so are we checking out some stories online?
Yes, we're getting ready to that. So that's myjoyonline.com open right there. So presidential candidate urged Mahama to concede or go to court. Benny, it looks like you have to help me with the rest of the stories.
Well, is it clearer now? EC releases pink sheets for presidential election. Traders count their losses after Cantamanto market fire. Professor Atuguba threatens to lead impeachment against UTAG over public universities bill. There's also Parliament suspends processes on public universities bill after meeting with stakeholders. Former President Mahama says, I won't incite people to destabilize Ghana's peace. And Akufo-Addo's 2020 election victory gazetted, like we've brought to you this morning. I see you on the BBC. Maybe we can check some of that. I'll do the trends, and it's a wrap.
Okay, so this is the update on the Nigeria school kidnapping situation. And I'm reading this from the BBC. It says more states in northern Nigeria have ordered all schools to close following last week's kidnapping of hundreds of pupils in Katsina State. Kano, Kaduna, Zamfara, and Jegowa have followed Katsina, including schools following Friday's attack. The Islamist militant group Boko Haram has said it was behind the raid. We know that more than 300 children are still missing, raising fears of for the safety of other schools, especially those in remote areas. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Union of Teachers has threatened a nationwide strike unless the government urgently improves the security situation. So that's the update there from Nigeria on the kidnapping situation. And more schools, we're told, are also closing down. Yeah.
Right, so let's do this. And some 3 hours ago, my Los Angeles Lakers, I'm a fan though, wherever LeBron James goes, wherever the king goes, I follow. And, of course, they've started with the preseason games. They've been thrashing the Clippers. There's a third game coming up. But overnight, they beat the Phoenix Suns 112 to 107. That was trending at number 10 some 3 hours ago on Twitter. But currently, trending on Twitter, you have, so there's Jack, and I'll tell you with Jack, it's all football at number 8. There is Liverpool at number 3. There is #YNWA, that is You'll Never Walk Alone at number 2, and then Mourinho at number 1. So let's take a quick look at Jack. Now, Jack Harrison, Screamer against Newcastle. That is for Leeds United. Mama Vio Uswabaji's Leeds United.
Sometimes
trending.
Sometimes I forget.
Sometimes you even forget that you are supporting Leeds United. Then there's, but do you remember the famous Ghanaian who played for Leeds United way back when?
Mas, I don't know.
And he has some memorable goals.
As for Leeds, the Bintia. Otherwise, I know nothing. But I think it's their coach that I like.
Okay. You'll Never Walk Alone is also trending, but finally there is Mourinho trending at number 1, and it's because of that loss to Liverpool. In fact, there's a picture there of a fire service tender that seems to have been cut a little, and the caption is Mourinho leaving Anfield. Last one, when you park the buses for 90 minutes and still lose. It's trending on Twitter. You can check them out. But more of that will come your way with Oreko Ampofu, who's coming up next with sports. Do stay with us.
Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM Sports with me, Oreko Ampofu. There was loads of action yesterday as we did see matches from the Ghana Premier League ranging to the English Premier League as well. There were lots of drama, and we're starting off with the Ghana Premier League where Heart of Oak suffered a 2-0 defeat against Aduana Stars at the Nana Ajimambedi Park in their standing game, which was supposed to be played on match day 1. Talisman Yaya Mohammed scored in the 42nd minute to open the scoring for the home team, before Prince Aqua added the second a minute into the second half with a 35 yards power driver.
So there we go with the kickoff. Accra Hearts of Oak are playing from right to left as you watch, and the ball will go straight to goalkeeper of Aduana Stars and captain Joseph Addo to initiate an attack for them. Aduana Stars are brimming with confidence in this game, and they believe that this is an opportunity to put paid to all the noise being made by Accra Hearts of Oak. They believe that they would win this match fair and square.
One of the stalwarts you can call on to be favorites to win the league anytime the season begins.
Isaac Queen sends in across, and a deep enterprising one. Yaya Mohammed heads it back. A shot is fired, it's blocked, hands, and it's a goal! This is where I belong. Go to Aduana Stars, and from no other person than Yaya Mohammed.
Yaya Mohammed, as ever cannon inside the penalty area, pounds on the loose ball beyond the reach of Richard Atta.
So a change has been effected by Accra Hearts of Oak as we kickstart the second half. And Aduana Stars this time around are playing from right to left. Strong challenge comes in on the far side, a battle for the ball. As long as deep, but it's headed out. Pressure is still on Accra Hearts of Oak. Power driver! What a goal! What a goal! What a goal!
That confidence in him by his coach. What a belter! Absolutely a drive that any goalkeeper will find it difficult to save. And I'm so sad for Richard Atta. He's been on the facing end of the 2 brilliant goals we've seen this season in the Ghana Premier League. One against Richmond Lamte in that entire life game, and now he suffered one against Prince Aqua.
And so now it's time for prayers.
The game will go down the wire. Radio Vuka against Joseph Ado. Sefenchi gives the go-ahead. Vuka stuck forward, left-footed and saves there by Joseph Ado, and the bounce.
Aduana Stars certainly are becoming a difficult opponent for Accra Heart of Oak. It's now been 5 years since the Phobians did beat the side from Doma. But still on that game, head coach Costa Papic said that his boys were not ready for the game against Aduana Stars.
We are not ready for this match, obviously. I mean the players. A little bit better in the second half, but that is not enough. Missing so many chances, missing the penalty, does not give us the chance to win the match today. Like I said before the match, it's going to be upside down. One match you win, one match you lose. It's something like that until we start to be stable. Time is not yet there, but it will come. It will come.
Well, let's now hear from the man who was on the opposite bench, and that's Pakwesi Fabian. And remember, for Aduana Stars, they hadn't won a game this season, and they had scored just one goal prior to this match against Heart of Oak. Now, their coach believes that this win can change their season's narrative.
Well, I think I told you that we'll be coming out all guns blazing, and we're going to fight for every ball because this 3 points is very important for us to be able to turn the page and to change the narrative, and that's exactly what I told my boy, and I think they did well, and they played to instructions, and we carried the day.
Would you say that it is still work in progress, or you are satisfied with the output today?
No, we have a lot of positions that we need reinforcements. I think the management is aware, everybody's aware, so we are still working so that we are managing this so that when the window opens, then we'll look around and see if we can get 1 or 2 players for the positions that we really need, especially in the attack. When our talisman is not well, you know, he's got a shoulder problem, but we have to convince him, we have to beg him to come and play for us, and so that's it.
Well, that was head coach of Aduana Stars, and the talisman that he's saying they had to beg to play with injury is Yaya Mohammed. And we'll be showing you a picture of a war of words that he had with Heart of Oak striker Kojo Obin Jr. before the game. Now, before the game, Obin Jr. says that my goal in Doma, where the match was played, is patiently waiting for me. Like I said earlier, I will score against Aduana Stars regardless of when we play them. And Yaya Mohammed also replies saying that Aduana has already won and I'll score. Obin Jr. can't score, he's just bragging. You will hear the news after 5 p.m. today. So the news came out, and as you saw, it was 2-0. Yaya Mohammed scored a goal. Kojo Obin Jr. unfortunately did not get a goal and ended up getting a yellow card. So it looks as if Yaya Mohammed did certainly win that battle off and on the pitch. But that's the note in which we'll be ending the sport here. Remember, we have more sports stories for you on myjoyonline/sport. And our main bulletin, that Sports Today, returns to 2 p.m. live on the JoyNews channel with Nathaniel Watto. My name is Oreko Wampofo, and the AM show continues right after this.
So Parliament has suspended the plenary consideration of the new Public University Bill 2020 to allow the University Teachers Association of Ghana and other stakeholders in academia to study and make inputs into the bill. Yesterday, we started off a conversation ahead of a 2 p.m. meeting with Professor Kwejo Appiagyei, who is with UTAC, the University of Ghana campus. He's back with us the morning after that suspension was announced. Also joining us is Dr. Michael Brigandi, President, Technical Universities Association of Ghana, and then Mr. Peter Nti is Executive Director, Institute of Education Studies. A very good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time here on the show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, great. Let me start with Professor Appiagyei, because we had a conversation yesterday. What does the suspension mean to you as stakeholders?
I think it's a huge relief for the stakeholders because it indicates that the government wants to now go by the rules and the relationship arrangements that it's set up with the stakeholders, which is also influenced by the Office of the UN Special Rapporteurs on right to education and right to freedom of expression. So we think that the roadmap should now be set for an engagement to really assess the nitty-gritty elements of the bill and where we have disagreements, so that we'll be able to come to a clear understanding. Even though we also want to emphasize that for the University of Ghana, our position is that the bill should be completely withdrawn.
Dr. Michael Brigandi, is that your position as well?
Well, not precisely, but let me first of all say that just as others did, we submitted our position to government when we met the Parliamentary Select Committee regarding the concerns that UTAC had. And we were actually expecting them to get back to us, because when we met the committee, they had promised that they were going to get back to us. So we were expecting to see a revised version of it. Only to be taken by surprise that it was being pushed through Parliament. So we are of the view that, indeed, there are a few good things in it, or largely, to some extent, it contains things that are good. But then, if our comments are not taken on board, it will be very difficult for us to accept it.
Okay, and I would love for you to help. Is your fundamental issue also has to do with the composition of the University Council? Is that your position as Technical Universities Teachers Association?
That is a very serious one. It's a major concern, because looking at the proposed composition, government is going to end up hijacking our council, because it appears government will have the majority on council and can conveniently convene a meeting of council and take decisions on behalf of the entire university. I must say that I am yet to see the revised version. But if the comments that others have made are anything to go by, I strongly believe that there is very little difference. And our major concern has to do with the composition of council. And the other glaring issue is the way the technical universities have been captured in the bill. As if they had forgotten of technical universities, and at the last minute, they remembered that, oh, we have technical universities also in this country. So they just listed them, and even numbering them as number 17, and the rest are A, B, C, D, as if we are tangential when it comes to technical education or university education in Ghana. And that is not good enough. Sometimes the way you are addressed matters so much. And we're not happy that this bill just kept number 17 as the 17th institution, and the rest of us are A, B, C, D. Whereas all the other universities were comprehensively captured with regard to their mandates, their core values, their, what do you call it, niche areas and all that.
Okay. All right, that's a very interesting position. So are you for a suspension or total withdrawal?
I am. In fact, UTAC is for the suspension, because the fact that government has suspended it in order to consult us means that government is ready to look at our concerns.
Okay.
All right. There's nothing wrong having a bill to govern the operations of public universities.
All right, Ms. Enti, I saw a little reaction, and I don't know if it was so obvious, but it was a bit obvious to me when he was talking about how the technical universities have been represented in this bill, for instance, as though they were an afterthought. You've looked at it, have you?
Yes, we've analyzed the bill from the day it was made up, and we've been following this conversation for a long time. What's the basic problem from our perspective is that from day one, there seems to be inadequate consultation lack of consensus building, communication problems in terms of how even the promoters of the bill have been able to communicate the content of the bill to the general public and especially to the stakeholders. And there's lack of collaboration. And that is why one bill, we've been able to take it to Parliament and withdrawn it 2 times. It means that the promoters of the bill are not doing something right, and the bill, if it goes through, will not help with the academic situation in our public universities, and that is why we strongly believe that the second withdrawal would mean something to the stakeholders, that they would their comments and their issues that they have raised from day one would really reflect in the bill, and then when they take it back, it will be able to serve the purpose of which it's supposed to serve. Of course, you cannot put together a policy whereby the major stakeholders have fundamental challenges with and still want to push it through. And so that is why we think that there are issues of consultation, collaboration, consensus building, and communication from the part of those who are proposing the bill, and that is why we are where we are now.
Okay. Professor Piaget, one of the issues was the fact that this revised one, as has been presented to Parliament, had not been seen by some of the stakeholders. So what's UTAC's position? Do you appreciate the revised bill as they put it?
Well, we've had the opportunity to look at the revised bill. When the UTAC met the Vice President and the Minister of Education yesterday, a copy was made available to UTAC. However, it turned out that it's the same that Eugene, for example, has already had access to. And the contents is the same material, to put it straight. And so what the chairman of the Education Committee, for example, said yesterday, that the bill as it is, which has been given, a copy has been given to UTAC, reflects about 90% revision relating to the concerns that UTAC cross has been met is unfortunately not correct. The bill as it stands portrays and reflects the very concerns we have been pointed out which have not been met. And so even in some respects, it even tightens the executive control over the universities. The only situation where we see a change is with the composition moving from 13 to 15 and 2 more added with from the university. But it still gives the government the majority, which therefore allows them to form a quorum with 8 because they have a total of 9, and to sit in a corner and make decisions for the university. And the element of the president's ability to dissolve the University Council is still there, now trying to justify it on constitutional grounds by reference to Article 297, which doesn't fit. The element of chairmanship of the University Council is still there. The fact that the Minister of Education can make directives from his office to regulate the university is still there. The fact that we have to submit every financial management issue to the desk of the Minister of Education to ratify it before we can even buy chairs and tables in the lecture rooms is still there. So we don't see any change in the bill as it stands. And therefore, our position is that this bill should not see the light of day. There are many laws there already that can be used to regulate the functioning of the university. The university is not a one-size-fits-all institution. So there should be that kind of flexibility and diversity that should be recognized. Even if the university wants to enter into international partnership with a foreign university, the Minister of Education has to sanction it. But I'm not sure the minister has the power, the knowledge, the expertise to even do all of this, even if he has it. It's going to slow down fundamentally the functioning of the universities. Let's talk about also the admission process. The bill, if you look at the paragraph 2 of the memorandum, clearly tells us that it is connected to the free senior high school education. and that is going to improve accessibility. And therefore, if you connect it to the centralized admission process, it is going to lead to a situation where the government is going to dictate who the university should admit. But that will invade the institutional autonomy of the university in a fundamental way. So these and many other issues we have with the bill makes us very uncomfortable. And rightly said, the environment is now polluted because the trust that we had, the fact that we're going to have the opportunity to consult and to bring our inputs to the bill has not been done. And therefore, as we stand, we are pleased, we are relieved that the bill has been put on hold, but still we are not clear as to what is meant by being put on hold, how long the consultations are going to go, because, for example, UTAG has been given up to Tuesday to come up with thoughts and reactions to the bill. But Tuesday, unfortunately, is too short, looking at the fact that there are so many disagreements, points of disagreement in the bill. They remain outstanding, and therefore we need to really develop a roadmap that we can use. For some roadmap that may, for example, should look at a 3-month time frame or so, which would therefore allow for detailed consultation to be done and to come to a consensus.
Well, what is interesting is that the Tuesday dates that you were given, that's the day that Parliament would also rise for the Christmas festivities. So I get the sense, and I want to ask you, Mr. Nti, is this all something that perhaps this Parliament, the executive, wanted to speed up, or they want to speed it up and pass it before the 7th Parliament ends?
Yes, exactly. I think that is what we are all suspecting. We don't see any urgency in passing this bill, and that is a fundamental issue that we have to establish. There is no urgency. None of our public universities are going through crisis that needs an urgent passing of a bill to help them resolve their challenges. None of the public universities. So there's no urgency in passing this bill, and we think that giving a body like UTAG a very important stakeholder in this discussion 3, 4, 5 days. It's not even up to 5 days, because the weekends we don't know the schedules of people and other things, to respond to a bill that they were the revised version that they were giving copies just yesterday is very, very unfortunate. And that is why we keep on talking about collaboration, we keep on talking about consultation and all that. So we don't know the reason. In fact, we don't know the reason why the sponsors of this bill are in a haste to pass this bill. We really don't know. And that is what is creating a lot of suspicion among the academic staff on various campuses, because if there are challenges on campus, and let's say most of our universities are in crisis, then we would understand that, look, we need to get this done because in January, academic work begins. But there is no urgency. None of our universities have broken down. There's no problem with any of our public universities as it is now. So why do we want to rush this bill through? And we suspect that definitely, if nothing changes, Tuesday they will pass this bill.
So, Dr. Brigandi, as technical universities, did you also get copies of this so-called revised bill yesterday?
Not at all. We are yet to get our copy. So, as only yesterday, somebody from the Office of the Clerk of Parliament indicated that they could only get us a hard copy. So, I've asked our administrative assistant in Accra to go for it this morning. As we speak, we are yet to look at what the revised version looks like.
But that will be hard. If you're getting a hard copy, then how do you get it to all your people so that you thoroughly look at it and make your inputs?
That is certainly the problem.
But I just want to read... Yes, please land for me. You're going to say something.
Yes, I was just going to say that these are some of the reasons why we feel that government is a bit reluctant in taking on board our suggestions. Because if government were interested in that, at least soft copies would have been made available to us long before the process of taking it to Parliament begins. But as we speak, we don't even know what it is like. We are only lucky that our brothers in UTAC have seen it, have made comments that give us an idea of what it looks like.
Well, maybe don't worry. UTAC is fighting on your behalf as well. But I just wanted to share with you, gentlemen,
we need to help them to fight.
Absolutely. So the chairperson of the Education Committee spoke to the media yesterday, and I'm reading some of the things that he said. And this, I'm picking this directly from the Daily Graphic newspaper of today. So Mr. William Kwetu said that after the bill had been read for the first time in Parliament in November 2020, it was withdrawn for a new one, which captured the concerns of stakeholders to be late. He indicated that the concerns of UTAC and other stakeholders in academia had to do with the content or status of the new bill. To respond to such concerns, he said the stakeholders were engaged in a meeting yesterday morning and copies of the new bill given to them to enable them to study it and submit their responses or their response for consideration. When we received their comments, and this is a direct quote, when we received their comments during our second consideration, all the comments that will be acceptable to all of us will be incorporated in the bill, and we have all agreed to certain conditions that must be fulfilled before the bill is passed. He indicated that if the stakeholders, after studying the draft, were satisfied, the input they submitted had been incorporated in the new bill, they would all come to a common ground before the bill will be passed. Did you get this understanding? Because Ms. Anti, seemed to suspect that this will be done next Tuesday. But Professor Peje, was this clear to all the stakeholders that there had to be an agreed ground before this is passed?
I'm not sure we agreed on specifically what each party should do. But the bottom line is that we said that UTAC submitted a memorandum, and the memorandum was clear that the bill should be withdrawn, and if not withdrawn, it should be subjected to the amendments that we proposed in the memorandum. But we made it clear that if all these amendments are not taken on board, then we go back to our point one, which is withdrawal of the bill. And so that position of UTAC remains unchanged. And we think that that should be the ground rule that we all should follow. And if that is followed, then we can reach some consensus.
Do you get the understanding that the members of this committee that you've been dealing with, they understand your concerns?
Certainly, I'm not sure they do understand our concerns and the gravity of the impact of this bill on the functioning of universities and tertiary education, higher education in general, which will cascade down to affect university education generally. I'm not sure the committee understands the seriousness that this bill, if turned into law, would have. Probably or more seriously, the Minister of Education himself. Because if you recall what one of his assistants said, he said the government wants to turn the University Council as a corporate institution, looking at seeing the Vice Chancellor as the CEO and so on. And therefore, the one that pays the bills, he who blows it, I've forgotten that phrase that he used exactly. So the bottom line is that the government should be able to control whatever happens in the university. But traditionally, that has not been the case. The university should be given that freedom, that functional necessity of academic freedom, to be able to churn out new knowledge that challenges orthodoxy and that enables new ideas to be produced to promote the development of the country. Governments and other stakeholders are opposed to such ideas and principles.
Yeah.
So they think that there should be that control. And if that is introduced, evidence from other countries will indicate that we are going down the drain. Our democracy is going to be affected because there's a strong link between academic freedom and democracy.
So,
if
Prof,
we go back to the past.
Yeah, Prof, not to cut you, we've got Information Minister Kojo Ponkroma, who is a member of this committee, to respond to some of the concerns raised. But I just want to check with you. Would you be able to, is the time given in terms of the Tuesday, December 22nd, to submit your concerns to the Education Committee? Is that enough for you, Prof?
Certainly not.
Okay. Just hold the rest of your thought there. Let me bring Kojo Ponkroma into this conversation. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time here on the show.
2 corrections. Number 1, I'm not a member of the Education Committee, but I've been very familiar with this subject. Number 2, we don't have a timeline of Tuesday for them to submit their concern. Yesterday, when His Excellency the Vice President called this meeting to be updated on the outstanding issues, he advised, or he suggested to the parliamentary committee to give the education or the academic community an opportunity to read the new bill and how it addresses all the concerns that they raised. And then he asked them, when can they feed back to us about when they will present the substantive views? Because the question was, can you give us feedback on your 18 or 19 clauses in 2 or 3 days? So the Tuesday is a timeline that they selected that by Tuesday they can tell us when they will bring their views. So the Tuesday is not a timeline for them to actually bring their views. It is when they are going to tell us that they will bring their views. I just thought I should make that correction.
Okay, so you're telling us that the dates that they gave you, that they will present their concerns is Tuesday. So that's not a deadline, but they themselves opted for the Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay, but so what's the response now that we have a representative of UTAC saying that the Tuesday timeline is not enough for them?
No, I think he's reacting to a specific question that is Tuesday enough for you? But if he's told or if he's aware that UTAG mentioned that by Tuesday they can tell us when they can give a substantive answer. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well.
Okay.
I'm not sure his answer will be the same because they have groups on various campuses that had the opportunity to read the bill, the draft 0 and draft 1, and submit recommendations. Those recommendations are the ones that have been factored and have now been laid. What they have said they need to do is to go back to the various groups, consult them, tell them that this is what we submitted, this is how it's been addressed, this is how we submitted, this is how it's been addressed. What do you think? So they need some time to do all of this work. And that's why they've requested that by Tuesday they can tell us when they can give us the substantive feedback.
Okay, great. I think I do understand. I do understand you now. But there's the suspicion from some stakeholders that this whole bill is being rushed. What's your reaction?
I think that suspicion is justified if you listen to the kind of conversation and commentary that is going on, even though that suspicion is not founded. And let me explain. 2 days ago, I had to even tweet that for the avoidance of doubt, the Public Universities Bill has not been passed. Why did we have to do that? Because the reportage in the media essentially was that the bill had been passed. Now, if I'm a member of UTAG, if I'm a member of the academic community, there's an initial draft bill. We have formed committees on campus. We have contributed our views to it. And we are waiting to see the final draft that incorporates our views. And the next thing I do is that I see a news headline that says that it has been passed. I'll be suspicious. Myself and my team and my colleagues will raise red flags that what are these guys doing? Passing it on our blind side, smuggling things in, they're in a haste to pass it. So if you look at it from that point of view, you can understand 100% why the academic community and UTAG raised red flags and got apprehensive. But the question is that what has happened? The answer is no. They came up with a lot of very detailed suggestions on why, A, many of them do not disagree that there is a need to have a public universities bill, but B, disagree with how some of the clauses have been structured because, in their view, it ends up putting the government in an unnecessarily overpowerful position in a space that the government ought not to be unnecessarily overpowerful. And C, they proceeded to bring recommendations on how those clauses should be restructured or deleted. So they are waiting to see how it has been addressed. So if they are not apprised with how it has been addressed, and they hear that it has been passed, which was not the case, by the way, then they will be apprehensive. His Excellency, the Vice President called this meeting and said, what's going on here? And the various arms from the Education Ministry, from the academic community, from Parliament, were all seated at the table. The Education Ministry gave an account of how over and over and over again they have met to include things, including the last things of their pensions also, which was not even included in the original recommendations. That has now been included in the new bill. And they, admitted that, well, indeed, it wasn't in our initial recommendations, but now you've even included it. And they paid tribute to the fact that there has been a lot of consultation back and forth between them. And I think we have to be clear that the issue on the table now is not about consultation, because they admit that they have met in Kumasi, in Accra, they've met the committee, they've made several suggestions and tabled them. So there's been a lot of consultation.
Okay.
But the bone of contention is that after the consultation, when their views were included in the new bill, have they seen it or not? And the answer is no, they haven't seen it.
Okay, so here's a quick one. UTAG apparently has seen it from yesterday, and Professor Appiagyei Etua tells me, in fact, he said it a while ago, that it's not significantly different from the original one.
Not to worry about that. I'll come to the substantive issue of how those clauses should be dealt with. But I'm saying that we need to cure the first perception that there hasn't been consultation. There has been a lot of consultation. They have submitted their views. Now their views have been incorporated into this new draft, which has now been laid. Now, this new draft that has been laid is not sacrosanct. It's not final. We are now in Parliament going to go through what we call consideration in the plenary. And I think maybe we should also take some time and, just talk about the processes of lawmaking. At this stage, we now have an opportunity to deal with specific clauses, why they don't make sense or why they make sense.
Yeah, but Kojo, isn't that the work of parliamentarians at this point? You're not involving them because they are not on the floor when you're doing that.
That's a fair point, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, because they wrote, rightly so, that they want to see the draft, whether it captures their position as well as they prefer or it doesn't. Indeed, yesterday there were parts where there were disagreements, but this is what you wanted captured. And they said, no, this is not the import of what we wanted captured. This is rather how we wanted it captured. So there are still some disagreements on it. But here's the point. When the bill was laid and 2 letters surfaced that they want to have an opportunity to weigh in on the final draft, immediately Mr. Speaker instructed, and the minister commented on it, chairman of the committee commented on it, that plenary consideration should be suspended, and then they should go back and engage with UTAG and the academic community to be sure that that which they desire is what has been captured. So if you speak to our friends from UTAG, I think Legon, they will tell you that the chairman of the committee had initially intimated to them that he wanted to meet them yesterday. This was prior to the vice president calling a meeting to say, what is going on here? Have you captured what they wanted captured? But then subsequent to that meeting yesterday, the decision was made to broaden the consultation, not just make it a UTAG Legon matter, but to broaden the engagement so that, okay, so everybody have a copy of it. Tell us whether or not it captures that which you wanted captured.
Okay.
And if you want some further amendments, let us have it. Until then, consideration on the floor, admittedly, where you are not part of it, is suspended. And I think yesterday, the chairman of the committee articulated that clearly.
Yeah.
That consideration on the floor is suspended. We want to be sure that the positions as desired have been captured. Where the executive disagrees with those considerations,
okay, so
it will make that case. Now, let me make the final point. Indeed, yesterday, the UTAG leadership also mentioned that, of course, they are academics, and they know that if they come to the table with 20 proposed amendments, they may not get all 20 agreed to. But if there is the demonstration of good faith that, listen, out of the 20, 18 have been adjusted as you desire, but the other 2, that's the essence of negotiation, the other 2, the other views on the table hold sway, they will not necessarily obstruct it just because they didn't get all 20. So I think so far we are in a good place. They have an opportunity to examine and give the feedback, which will determine the next course of action.
Okay, great. Kojo, I want to ask you this, and then I'll bring my guest in if they have anything to ask you or clarify. But can you give the assurance that the executive is not pushing to have this passed before the end of the 7th Parliament?
I will be very clear with you. The Vice President who chaired the meeting yesterday, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, gave UTAG his assurances that we are not in a hurry to pass a bill that creates more problems than it solves. And that is why every step of the way, and I think sometimes the commentary diffuses something. We should be clear. Every step of the way, when UTAG or the academic community raises an issue, the minister responsible for education sits with them to have a way to address it. Indeed, this whole conversation about academic freedom started because the minister responsible for education went to consult them and gave them a copy of the draft 0, that this is what we are looking at. Can you look at it and give me your feedback? And before that feedback would be made available, then you saw some members of the academic community go to town that government wants to take away academic freedom. But if that was their intendment, then maybe they will smuggle it and do it. They won't bring it to you.
Okay.
So every step of the way, there has been the intendment to engage. It is only unfortunate that whenever you engage, it is interpreted as trying to do something untoward on the other side. The good thing is that even at this stage, we have made it available. We have not even put timelines, and that's why I wanted to correct the Tuesday thing. We said, look at it, tell us when you can bring us feedback. If it is the case that you are able to look at it and honestly tell the whole Ghanaian public that the issues we brought have been adequately addressed, we can go ahead.
Okay.
This 7th Parliament will go ahead. If you look at it and you come back and you say, we still have major outstanding issues that cannot be dealt with, we have an 8th Parliament that is coming. It simply means that the process will start again. But government, I can tell you, is not in a hurry to pass a bill that will create more problems than it solves.
Okay, great. I have the president of the Technical Universities Teachers Association of Ghana. They've also got peculiar concerns. Dr. Brigandi, the information minister, is on. Go ahead and speak to him.
Well, that is indeed a good opportunity. I just want to find out from the minister why technical universities were captured as if they had forgotten of us completely. To the extent that you number the universities 1 to 16, then 17, you put technical universities, then you put A, B, C, D. That is the main issue I just want to know from you.
Okay.
And also, we were not invited to look at the revised version.
So you were not in yesterday's meeting? You were not in yesterday's meeting, and you do not have a copy of the new bill?
No. Okay. We were not invited. We don't have a copy.
Hello, Kojo, did you hear me? Did you hear Dr. Brigandi, please?
Yes, and thanks to him for his question. Let me respond from the second, and I'll come to the first. Yesterday's meeting, chaired by His Excellency the Vice President, was to get an understanding of what were the outstanding issues. Subsequent to that meeting, the advice, and which was taken by the Education Committee in Parliament, was to go and do a broader consultation. And so they are now going to make sure that every Tom, Dick, and Harry has an opportunity to read the new draft of the bill and weigh in on it. So my very good friend, the fact that he was not in that initial meeting yesterday will not stop his team from having an opportunity to look at the bill and to give their views. Indeed, that's why I mentioned that people are going back to their various constituencies, as in groups on campus, etc., which they formed to initially weigh in on the bill, to have a chat with them that this is how our concerns have been addressed. Are we satisfied? So I think that can be dealt with very easily. Second, in pursuance of that, whatever concerns they have, whether technical universities was listed as one big bullet and then they were subcategorized under it, or they prefer it listed as, one by one, this technical university, that. But these, in my view, respectfully, are matters that when they look at the new bill, they can raise that, okay, we want our name to be separated and not to be put as a subscript. But does it derogate from the bigger principle that it will be good to have a certain common framework for public universities? Respectfully, I don't think it does. But do we find room to fix these things in this engagement process? Respectfully, I believe we find room. And so my encouragement would be that now that the decision has been made that go look at the details and deal with it, we encourage. They go, they look at it, and however they want it turned around to reflect their concerns, let them bring it. If it's been done well enough, fantastic. If there are still outstanding issues, please do raise it so that the draftsman who's working on the draft of the bill can do those necessary adjustments.
Professor P.J. Is there anything you want to bring to the attention of the Information Minister or you want clarified?
I think the issue of whether the university community understood what happened in Parliament, I think is not correct. we know the difference between approval and then finally the passage of a law. The approval stage is where the government decides that this bill should be passed. And then it goes to consideration stage. At that stage, there is no input that can come from the non-parliamentarian side of things. And so if the approval is done, then definitely the law is going to be passed. But our position was that there was no consultation. There have been different forms of consultation. And I'll be pleased to let the minister understand these various stages we've had with the Minister of Education. There were consultations in Kumasi, some in Accra, and so on. And even prior before that, there was a consultation that led into.
Okay, so we seem to have lost Prof there, but he will be back in just a little bit. Prof, can you hear me?
Our conclusion
Okay,
is
so Prof, can you just backtrack a little? We just lost you briefly.
Sorry, is it okay now?
It is. It is better. You're talking about, you are acknowledging that there have been consultations, even prior to this consideration.
Yeah, there have been some consultations, but in all the cases, our views were not taken on board. So it will come back still with about 90% of our concerns not met. Remember, this started last year, I think 2018, February 2018 or so. And with each draft, we don't see much change coming in there. Therefore, we had to make sure that we address the issue by even going before sending a petition to the UN Special Rapporteur on Right to Education and Right to Freedom of Expression. And they also recommended that there should be consultation. And this was when the previous bill had come out. Now, if you look at the time between the previous bill and the current bill that we have, there has not been any consultation as has been proposed by these special rapporteurs, and also as was confirmed by the minister at the Office of the Presidency in charge of tertiary education. So that is the kind of consultation we are talking about. That has not taken place. So even University of Ghana just last week sent a letter to the minister or to Parliament asking, when is this consultation going to take place? And that consultation, we didn't hear anything about it. All of a sudden, there has been approval of the bill in Parliament. So that is where our concern is. Therefore, it is important that we take that into account.
Yes, Kojo, he's just ending. Okay. Prof, have you ended?
Prof, are you there?
Yes. I think I can end it there.
Okay, Kojo, you can respond now.
Yes. Prof, and good morning to you. I just want to make a point. We are not, or I am not suggesting that the academic committee does not understand the difference between the passage of the bill and then the relaying and approval for consideration. I cannot even say that. The academic community, very, very well-respected community. In fact, that is where we all learn from. So I cannot even say that. I haven't said that. The point I was making was that our understanding of why there has been this heightened apprehension is because of the media reportage that the bill had been passed. And the point I was making was that if I were a member of the academic community and we have had the consultations, we've made our recommendations, and government says it will let us see the final draft before it goes, and we don't see the final draft, and I hear on radio, I see on TV, I see online that the bill has been passed, I'll be apprehensive. I think it's important to clarify that we cannot suggest that the academic community doesn't understand the difference. And then, very finally, the point I was making was that, yes, it is true that at consideration stage, ordinarily, the non-MP members of the Ghanaian community may not be able to participate in the direct debate and adjustment of clauses. But it is precisely because the academic community, led by, I think, UTAG Legon, wrote to Parliament saying that we were supposed to get copies of the new bill before it goes on. We haven't. So what is the status? I think the expression used in the letter was that you wanted to know the status of the bill. It's exactly because of that Mr. Speaker instructed the minister appears, the chairman of the committee agreed to to halt the traditional consideration in plenary and come back to be sure that the concerns as raised have been captured in the new bill. Unfortunately, in the media reportage, I'm not even sure that instruction was well reported. That's how come yesterday the chairman of the committee had to repeat that instruction, that we had met the vice president, that instruction was already on the table, and that's what's going to take place. So I sincerely believe that we are in a good place where the academic community can look at the bill and make their inputs on whether they are satisfied with the changes that have been made or there are still outstanding issues.
Okay, all right. So, Professor Piaget, we're clear that the Tuesday 22nd is not a deadline to present concerns, but it's for you to communicate when you think you can make those inputs. Are we clear on that?
Yes, we are clear on that. However, the draft that the bill that we had from the minister yesterday, we had already had access to the same bill. And some of us have commented on that because it is not fundamentally, radically different from the previous one. And even in some cases, like I said, it tightens the position of the executive in terms of how it should exercise control over the universities. So the idea that we now have the bill and the bill would fundamentally address our concerns is not the case. However, now that the minister has made us aware that the Parliament is in a rush to pass the bill, we are also going to take our time to review the bill clause by clause and then present our views. And we believe that a roadmap will be set for proper consultation to go on and for all of us to agree on what should constitute a document that can truly reflect the regulation of the universities that will also ensure that it will protect academic freedom on the university campus.
Okay, so just finally with you, Kojo, for the rest of us, the citizens, what's the path ahead? How does it look like? What's next?
Our understanding is that the academic community and government agree that it is not necessarily a bad thing to have a public universities bill. B, our understanding is that there are some clauses that they want amended in a particular way. C, our understanding is that having done that, those clauses have been included in the new draft. Now, just a quick comment. Yesterday at the meeting, it became clear that there was a version that was being circulated, a soft copy version that was being circulated on some of the UTAC platforms that purported to be the new draft, but actually wasn't. Indeed, at a point, there was reference about pages missing in the soft copy, etc., etc. So it is a good thing that today the new draft as is being made available.
Is there a soft copy of that? Because the technical universities don't have a copy yet. I think Dr. Brigandi said he had a call from Parliament, but what they're given is a hard copy.
Yes, because they're telling, and let me be honest, these days there's a lot of mischief. You make a soft copy available, people play all sorts of mischief with it. So the Attorney General Department, and yesterday it was mentioned at the meeting, prefers to make the hard copies available. Because before you realize, somebody deleted some clauses, changed some things, and it's circulating, and people are believing it and commenting on it. And so yesterday at the meeting, when this question of a soft copy came up, the answer was that the hard copy is what the Attorney General is available, is making available. So that is direct to you, and then you can look at what has really been transcribed and comment on it. So point C is that it's a good thing that that draft is being made available. We are looking forward to the academic community looking at the latest draft and telling us when they can engage on the substantive issues. And I'm sure that we can all come to some closure, because in the end, whatever piece of legislation that the representatives of the people pass must be legislation that makes all of us better off, not creates more problems than it solves.
Thank you so much for your time, Information Minister Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Ms. Auntie, in wrapping up, I mean, we've had a very fruitful interaction even this morning here on the show. This is healthy, isn't it?
Yes, of course, there's been some clarity brought to bear this morning. But I think that all these were avoidable. You asked us to submit our inputs they submit the inputs, and then when you think that you have incorporated the inputs, the best thing to do is to give it back to them for them to see that these and these and these are the things that you said you want change, and we have incorporated it. And when you are at the same level, then you proceed to Parliament to do what you want to do. That was not done, and that is the reason why we are having this conversation. That's the reason why the Minister of Information had to take a lot of time to explain to us the processes that they are going through. If that was done, we wouldn't be here. And we think that going forward, government, sponsors of bills, policies, and other things, they should always take the steps one at a time. If there's truly no need, there's truly in their mind no intention to rush certain policies and certain bills through the process, they should just go through step by step, do what is supposed to be done, let everybody be satisfied with whatever it is that we are bringing up, and then you can push it through whatever channel that you want to push it through. But if you go by what they did, by laying the thing back, taking the thing back to Parliament without the stakeholders knowing what is in the new bill, we will continue to have such discussions, and such distortions will be in the public domain.
Well, Mr. Peter Nti, I thank you for your time this morning. Dr. Michael Brigandi and Professor Apieje Etua, I am grateful for your time as well. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, for the opportunity.
All right, great. All right, so this is where we have to end this conversation, and it is clear now. We'll pick it up from where we move to next. I've got a birthday dedication. It's to a beautiful sweetheart, and your name is Diana Kabuki Dosu. It's your birthday today. You're 8 years old today, Kabuki Dosu. Diana Kabuki Dosu, and it's from Daddy, Reverend Ohene Dosu, to you as you celebrate your 8th birthday. I don't know what the wish is, but have a happy, happy, happy birthday. Enjoy today, and may all your dreams come to pass, Kabuki. Stay with us. We've got plenty more to share with you here on the AM Show.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, we were not greeted with palatable news yesterday when we heard of the fire in Kantamanto. Let's delve into what exactly happened as we interact with Ellis Robinson Oko, who is a PRO for the Ghana National Fire Service. A very good morning to you, Mr. Oko.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us. Now, what so far has been unearthed by way of the investigation of the Ghana National Fire Service? What do you know to be the cause of yesterday's fire?
Investigations are still ongoing. For that matter, we don't have the cause now.
Right, but what can you tell us with regard to what developments may have led to what we've seen? And when I interacted with you yesterday, of course, you told me that it was too early, but it's been a day and a half already, if you like, and people are asking questions. Some have suggested arson. Some have said that there were broken bottles, which would have suggested that maybe a Molotov cocktail or something was thrown into it. Have you seen any such things there to suggest arson, for example?
Excuse me. What I want to say here is that that's what that's what people have seen. But we don't have to rely on what people are saying. We have to also do our own investigations to confirm what they have said, whether it is true or not. Yesterday, I told you that fire investigations it should be scientific. Otherwise, it won't be credible. People will say different things today, tomorrow they also say different things. So I wish that we all wait for the investigators to do their own investigation.
Right. About how long is it going to take you to conduct these investigations? How long do you think?
We don't put timelines on our investigation. It can even take years. But I hope that it will be very soon, because it's not the damage is not the whole of Kantamanto. It's not too extensive. So I'm pretty sure it will be out soon.
Have the fires been completely tamed now? As of yesterday, I'm sure you saw one of the scavengers who, got lit up himself and had to be rushed to hospital. Have the flames been totally quenched now?
As I speak to you this morning, it has been totally down.
Right. And what is the assessment of damage as far as the Ghana National Fire Service is concerned?
It is part of our investigation. The assessment is part of the investigation. And so I don't want to do guesswork. But I know that over 100 sheds have been destroyed.
Could you repeat that? Over 100 what, please?
The market shed, the shed.
The sheds.
That is, yes.
Right. So now we see that there are a lot of fire incidents. I mean, Koforidua, a day before we encountered this one in Kantamanto, we had the first floor of the GCB building, and then Odona as well. What's going on, and what lessons can we learn from these fires?
You agree with me that around this time of the year and any other occasions like Easter, there are a lot of human activities in this market. And wherever there is increase in human activity, there is likely to be, especially when people use fire as a means of livelihood, then the likelihood that fire outbreaks will occur in certain places is there.
So, in a way, to be expected at around this time of year, but very unfortunate. But let me find out from you. In this instance, you say you're still conducting investigations, but we've had the Odona fire. You were there. We've had the GCB bank, in Kantamanto. The first floor, part of it was scorched by fire. We've had the Koforidua incident. Have you established the causes of those yet?
We are still on investigation.
Well, for Odona, that would be about a month. And upwards, and still the cause has not been.
That is why I said that we don't normally put timelines on our investigation, because it may even take a year or more.
Mr. Oko, you do admit that why I'm posing these questions is that there are lessons that we ought to learn without the investigative reports of the Ghana National Fire Service telling us about the causes of some of these things, so that those in the marketplaces and even at home can take precautionary measures. We're not heading anywhere. The fires will continue.
No. Our education is ongoing, and this was the first time that we had a fire break at Odona. Even the old recommendations, they couldn't meet all before the fire came again. So we are in touch with them to ensure that the next construction that goes on over there, fire service will be involved to ensure that the property is done to prevent such a fire from occurring at the place.
Let me ask you, that's a very important point you make, the fire service getting involved in even the raising of structures. Because yesterday the vice president was there, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and one of the things he said was that they were going to erect this, market again. Are you going to be collaborating then with, those who are going to erect the market to ensure that the sort of materials being used for the construction is not so combustible in cases of fire?
Definitely, the assemblies are the lead agencies on such projects, and we work hand in hand with them to ensure that the place is safe for human occupancy.
Right. And to wrap on this subject, like you said, it's that time of year, there's a lot of activity, and fires become rampant. What would be your general advice to the Ghanaian citizenry? What are the things to look out for to prevent fires?
Yes, as I speak to you now, we are even in Medina Market doing public education. So we are doing our education, but, we want the people in the market to also act on what we tell them to do. It is very important that when you are in the market, you can't say that people should not cook in the market. So definitely cook. But when you finish, make sure you douse the fire before you leave for your house. You may be using a small radio. When you close from work, put it off before you go home. You may be using fan and all other things. Ensure that you put all those things off before you leave for your house. And then I also want to make a recommendation. There's something I call the Ghanaian market model. Ghanaian market, we have a task force that we have trained. The fire service have trained that task force. And what they do is that when the market women close, they move around from one shed to the other to ensure that nobody has left any electrical gadget on or any naked flame on. And anybody who is found guilty of that offense is fined the next day. And so doing, we hardly hear any fire outbreak in Ghanaian market. And I think I would recommend that all markets have task force or a small fire unit that trained people will be there, or fire wardens will be there to move around to ensure that the market is safe.
Just as a top-up, we're wrapping, but just as a top-up, because of the point you've made, yesterday you spoke about fire extinguishers, and you also made mention of multitasking at home, ironing while cooking and all of that. What can we learn from those instances?
Yes, around this time to the Yuletide, you observe that we are in a hurry to go for a party, we are in a hurry to attend a church service, or maybe visit a friend. Because of that, we are engaged in multiple chores a lot. So what I would advise is that we try as much as possible to avoid multiple chores. But the likelihood that you may forget one is there. For instance, ironing and cooking at the same time. The cooking may involve gas. And the little negligence on your side can result in a fire outbreak.
Well, thank you very much, Ellis Robinson Oko, PRO of the Ghana National Fire Service. We wish you a very good day and all the best in your investigation. So some lessons to learn there. Let's stay safe as Christmas approaches. It's a wrap now for this portion of the show, but Showbiz comes your way next with Kadi. Do stay.
Good morning, guys. You're welcome to the Showbiz segment right here on the AM show. My name is Kadi, and this morning we get to speak with dancer actor Ras Kuku, and he will be telling us more about his EP, and that's the Kwame Nkrumah EP. Tell us about the number of songs on the EP and then the people he's worked with and what we are to expect. Good morning to you, Ras Kuku.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Ghana. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Welcome back to Ghana.
Good morning, Joy. You don't know, I say the Get-to-Be president is back.
Yeah, you're back. But tell us about the Kwame Nkrumah EP. That's a very nice name for the EP, though. Tell us about the EP.
Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah, Kwame Nkrumah is the founder of Ghana. Kwame Nkrumah is the greatest man when it comes to Ghana. He's the Abraham of Ghana. And, last year I came out with an album called Kuntum Kununkun.
Yes.
And Kuntum Kununkun is Osajifo. So this time around, we are bringing in Kwame Nkrumah so that we complete whatever Kuntum Kununkun has for us. And then, so this time around, it is Kwame Nkrumah EP, which has 7 songs on it. And the 7 songs, we heard only one, that is GDA. Okay. The song with MOG Music, the main vocalist of the year 2020 VGM. So, Kwame Nkrumah EP, that is the reason why I traveled to USA to work on that. I recorded 2 songs out of it. That is the first song and the second song, the Freezing, and 1 song for the ladies, ladies like you, beautiful girl, Kadi. We call it 100%. Yeah, so it will be released this Saturday coming inside our Showman Estate, veggies and grills. So everybody should be there, and we are coming to give them power. When we say power, this time around it is not reggae alone, but we blended it. It has Afro and reggae, two reggae songs Yeah, 3 reggae songs. With the Kwame Nkrumah is a reggae song. The 100% is a reggae song. And then the GD, and we have Are We. When we say Are We, that is we. Yes, Are We.
Are
and then
we?
We have, Are We.
What is that?
That is track number 6.
Okay.
Are We. Yeah, and people will be thinking the song talks about marijuana. So it is one of the best songs on the EP. Yeah, as well. So people
so what does it talk about? If people will be thinking it talks about marijuana, what exactly does it talk about?
Yeah, the song talks about we the ghetto youth know that we shouldn't fear anybody apart from Jah, you know. We need to work hard and love Jah and make money. That song is very powerful. It's a dancehall song, so when it comes out, people should just when you click on the link of the EP, just go down there and check Are We and see whether it is a marijuana song or it is a song for me and you.
Okay, all right. So you have how many artists did you feature on this EP? Did you work with other artists?
Yeah,
I'm sure. Initially,
we had wanted to put some artists on it, but we got to a time, me and the team said that, this time around, the song, the album, the songs on it should be Rasuku alone. We only have MOG, which is the GDA song, but the rest of the songs is Rasuku. It is me, myself, and I album. Yeah, EP, I'll call it.
Okay.
Yes, so there's no one on it apart from Rasuku. The only artist which got featured on the EP is MOG Music, which is the GDA music,
Okay, can you please tell us about the Kwame Nkrumah charity giveaway? What's that about?
Yeah, Raskuku, the ghetto president, say when we have that title, we need to show it. You need to let the world know that, we really mean what we say. Yeah, the Kwame Nkrumah charity giveaway is a collaboration between Raskuku, the poem, music, and then Rasta Chokomot. We are giving out a lot of things to the ghetto youth on the street, especially those who don't have it. If you know your father has it, your father has 10 cars in the house, please don't come there. We are giving it to the ones who doesn't have it. Those who can't even afford 1 meal a day. Those are the people we are sharing to. So if you know you are in a house, you eat 4 times a day, we beg you, don't come there. Allow those who don't have it to come and enjoy and then give praise unto the Most High for that day. So it will be happening inside me and Rasta Chukwu.
Okay. All right. Can you tell us about Cocoa Womb? I think it's one single that you released.
Yeah, Cocoa Womb, Sugar Womb. Yeah, Womb. Vibes Womb. We they give them full music. Yes, what is the bangers of the upon bangers over bangers and in bangers. When I see Raskuku's song, the Cocoa Womb is the banger right now.
Is it off the EP?
Check it out, And when you take Rasta Chukwumot, we have cooking. Yeah, no, it's something for the fans before the EP comes out.
Okay.
And when it's Rasta Chukwumot, you have Cocoa, Sugar Woman, and Vanilla inside. So, it's a collaboration between Rasta and Rasta Chukwumot. People should watch out for that, Very soon, later on, Kadi, I'll let you know one side about the day. So what I say.
Okay. But can you tell us about the producers you worked with on the EP?
Yeah, man. Beat a casket on it. I be on the beat. Shoot to blinks, and then beat the beat god. I don't know the rest of them, but the beat god. We have 4 engineers or producers on the EP.
On the
and
EP.
They did very well. All of them did massive work on the EP. And when you come there, especially when you come to Veggie Sangre, that is Ashoman Estate, and then you listen to the production, the mixing, the voice and everything, you get to know that Raskuku, after winning the Reggae Dancehall Artist of the Year, has given another, shining star to his brand. Yes,
Okay, but which is your favorite on the EP? Which song is your favorite?
I've got 2 favorites on the EP, the Kwame Nkrumah and Are We.
Okay.
And then one for the lady, that will put it 100%. Nkwana me feel on him udinda makomaso. Minti obi e mesi maso. She, e jise omo kamaso. Hey. Omo ya me fa o yema wo me ne wokala no. Anything na de bia me hala no. She hot like fire no. Yeah. Baby girl, you drive me crazy. No confirm me. When you wanna be me. Say me, listen, hey. Me see African queen, me wo. Say me, hey, nah, me mark you 100% over 100%.
Okay, all right, but can you tell us how long it took you to work on this EP?
It took me 1 month. Yeah, 1 month.
It took you just 1 month to work on the 7 songs?
Yeah, man, 1 month. And it took me 2 days to write 3 songs.
Okay, so you wrote all the songs yourself?
Even 1 month is too much. I would have used 2 weeks because it is because I traveled outside the country. That is why. You know, Raskuku is musical.
Yeah.
Even let me tell you something. Raskuku can use 10 days. He recorded 2 albums. So those who doubt it, you can bring in any engineer who is ready to work with me 10 days, and I'm gonna give him 2 albums, solid ones, different style.
Okay, all right, thank you.
For everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning, Raskuku. So that was Raskuku. He was talking about his EP, and that's Kwame Nkrumah, and he's having a listening session on the 19th of December. My name is Kadi, and that's all we have for Showbiz for this morning. But remember, there's more Showbiz at midday with Becky.